What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some of the best route running from some of the best Ohio State wide receivers to prove why Ohio State is wide receiver U. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope we could teach you a few new things, but also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver and you would like to improve your route running, your hands, your press release ability, and would like a daily workout schedule to follow, check out that very first link in the description below for our 8-week wide receiver on-field workout plan. It's 200 plus drills, all broken down into a 2-month weekly schedule. We give you the exact sets and reps to follow, examples of each drill, everything you should be doing on the field, fellas. So check out that very first link in the description below if you're interested. Let's get started. So now, first route we're going to be looking at here is from Chris Olave. We're going to be looking at Chris Olave run a route, Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Marvin Harrison Jr. So we're going to be covering the big five, some of the best guys that have gone through there over the past couple years. So first route here, this is from Olave. He's going to be running this slant route. So this is a slant route, and he's going to be attacking this DB's outside shoulder and outside hip, trying to move him off the platform so he could take an inside release. So let's play this thing full speed, then we'll break it down. So he comes out, attacks wide, takes the inside release, gets skinny, and is able to get separation on that slant. So why does he decide to go with this specific release? So we talk a lot about how you would run a slant route versus inside shade press coverage, right? So if you got a DB, when you come up to the line of scrimmage, you want to try to identify three specific things about the way he's playing you. Number one, you're trying to look for his leverage. So is he lined up outside leverage? Is he head up, or is he inside shade? Because that tells you what he's trying to accomplish with his specific coverage. Now, how you pick your release is based on his leverage. And then the second thing you want to identify, which is the distance from you. How close or how far is he? And then last but not least, you want to try to identify the coverage. So that's more so for a more game realistic situation. He could be off in zone, but he's outside leverage. So you want to be able to identify what the coverage is. That's how you pick what to do off the line. So when this DB comes up to the line of scrimmage, we see that he's lined up head up press, maybe shaded a little bit to the outside, and we have to run this slant. So our goal is not just take off and run to the inside, because this DB's lined up outside shade for a reason. We know this by his leverage. He is trying to take away the outside route. Don't let Olave run a fade. Don't let him run an out route, a comeback. Force everything to the inside, because chances are what he probably has inside is a little bit of safety help, linebacker help in a real game setting, right? So what Olave does here is his goal is to attack the outside. Let's move him off the platform. Let's try to get him to jump to the outside route so I can get a free inside release and I don't just go take off and go run to the safety. It is very, very tempting to do that in one-on-ones, fellas. Like if you're a high school wide receiver and you're going to a camp, and you have this outside leverage look and you have an inside break around, it's tempting to just go run. But if you catch the ball in the opposite hash, guys, that's not realistic. And no college coach wants to see that. No coach wants to see that in general because it's not a realistic route. We want to get better at game realistic situations. And that's what all these Ohio State wide receivers do with their routes. That's what we're going to be discussing throughout the rest of this video. So what he does is he attacks him to the outside. So anytime that you want to try to get a DB to move, you want to try to threaten him where he doesn't want you to go. So he doesn't want him to go to the outside. So see how Olave gains a ton of ground off the line and steps outside the DB's frame. When you step outside of his frame, that's what makes him think you're going vertical. You sell with your hips, you sell with your shoulders. It's not just about leaning with your head and then dipping your shoulder. It's about actually turning your hips with the step of this release. So when you step outside of his frame, that's what gets him to move. You want to think of it like driving. You got a far left lane, you got a middle lane, and you got a far right lane. You're trying to get the DB to move to the left lane, we got to almost make a lane change to the left lane. That's what gets him to move. That's what gets him to jump. So how he's able to cover so much ground on this release, and again, their attention to detail at Ohio State is insane. That's why this is one of the best schools for a wide receiver to attend. So let's watch his first step of this release. See how he takes this little punch step. I call that preferably a prep step. Some people probably have different names for it. I don't think it's quite a jab, like a part of the release. I would say it's more of like a prep step. It's just a quick step where you're almost stepping in place to create some energy. When you guys take that prep step, a lot of wide receivers like to take a kick step, where you take your back foot and you kick behind your front foot and use that to load your hips so you could attack outside this DB's frame. This prep step where you're just picking it up and putting it down in place gives you that explosion and you can push off of it so you can actually attack outside his frame and attack outside his leverage. You trying to get to this specific end point from just a flat-footed position off the line is highly unlikely. You need some explosion, and that prep step is how you're going to do that and how you're going to threaten the DB to the outside. So you see, we get him to move. He's able to get up vertical for his 3 steps and stay skinny and keep a great window before running into this free safety or just running an unrealistic route in one-on-one. So that is a great route there from Chris Olave. Let's play this thing again full speed one more time. Great job by him using that prep step to shoot out wide and then taking those 3 steps to get skinny on that slant. Okay, so now the next route here is going to be from Garrett Wilson. So Garrett Wilson, this is a great example of him running a goal line fade, having the wherewithal to know the DB's technique on the goal line, and then finishing the play with late hands, which is super important in the red zone and just against man coverage in general. So let's watch what he does here. So let's play this full speed. So he attacks his DB's leverage to the inside, gives him a move, and then this ball is thrown to the outside on that back pylon for an easy catch for him. So we have to understand a couple things. Remember, pre-snap process when you come up to the line as a wide receiver. You're looking for three things that a DB is going to give you. First thing is going to be his leverage. So you want to look for if he's inside, is he head up, or is he outside leverage, right? So in this specific case, he's inside leverage. Second thing you want to identify is you want to identify how close he is. Is he inside leverage right up on the line, or is he inside leverage 5 yards away with his heels on the goal line? In this case, he's got his heels on the goal line, right? And then you want to identify the coverage. Obviously, this is like squared up stance, eyes are on us, it's man. So we know, just based on his leverage, and obviously where we're at on the field, he doesn't want to give up a slant, right? So he does not want to let us come up and cross his face and just run this slant route and go right in front of him. So if we can threaten him with that slant, if we can make him think we're running a slant, even if it's just with one step, that might get him to hesitate, which can give us an extra step of separation to the back pylon. And in the red zone, guys, all you need is a step. And Garrett Wilson knows that just based on the pre-snap look that this DB gave us. So now when we come off the line, though, we know that because he's 5 yards away, we got some space. So what do we got to do with that space? We have to close that space. We have to eat up his cushion. We got to bring this line of scrimmage right to him. It's not like the DB took away that space and lined up man-to-man press. The release would be different if he did that. So many guys ask us all the time, well, coach, how do I pick a press release? You pick a press release based on his distance and based on his leverage. The goal of his leverage stays the same, regardless of how close or how far he is. The distance he gives you is how we change up our release. So if he's lined up right on the line of scrimmage here, I don't need to close distance. I could probably just give him a quick jab and then go. But we still attack him. We still attack his leverage. It's just a different release. So now, one other thing that you got to understand anytime that you're facing goal line coverage, and Garrett Wilson is very intelligent for not doing this, is that this DB is not going to backpedal. DBs are taught backpedaling on the goal line is death, because if you backpedal, that's just an easy, quick slant right there. They never want to backpedal. They want to stay patient and sit right on the goal line. So we know that as a wide receiver, so we know not to get too close in this aspect. You don't want to get too close to where you're like right on his toes and he's just going to get hands and disrupt the timing. Give yourself some space. Let's close the space. Give yourself maybe like a half a yard. So when you do throw that move, you're not getting rerouted. He's not getting hands. He's not disrupting the timing, and we could actually get a step of separation. Now, when that ball is thrown over the shoulder, a couple mistakes that wide receivers will make is when that ball is thrown, they will show their hands too early, especially when it's an over the shoulder pass. Because this DB, he's not looking back for the ball like how we're looking back for the ball. Because the second he looks back for the ball too early, he's going to lose us, and then that's an easy catch for us. He is playing us. So the earlier you show your hands, the more time this DB has to react. The later you show your hands, ball is thrown, the later you show your hands, the less time he has to react. So when you show your hands late, he has no idea where the ball is. You start to extend and reach out for the ball. He knows exactly where to shoot his hands through and make a play. So this is a textbook example of Garrett Wilson showing his hands late, actually being late with his hands, so this DB doesn't have a chance to make that play. Now, if this is underthrown and it's a jump ball, yeah, you got to go up and get it. The late hands thing doesn't really apply. But if it's thrown on a line, it's thrown over the shoulder, and you got this DB trailing you, you have to be late. That's a complete route here from Garrett Wilson. That is as good as it gets. So let's play this thing full speed one more time. Great job closing space, but not getting too close, and then winning on that fade route. So this is going to be a route from Jackson Smith and the Jig Bus. So again, we got his route, and then we're going to be taking a look at Marvin Harrison Jr.'s route running. Okay, so again, wide receiver use. Some of the best wide receivers that go through this program. And it really has to probably come down to the coaching that they have there, because all these guys run great routes. They really all do. So let's take a look at this. He's going to be running a route called a post out. Some people call it a post out. Some people call it a blaze out route. A blaze out is where you take 3 steps to get to the out route. And then some people call this a martini route, because this route kind of looks like a martini glass, right? So there are a bunch of different names for it. So he comes off, and the main thing on a post out is you have to sell a post, and you have to be able to get back flat rather than like drifting upfield as if it were a post corner. So when you guys break to the post, it's no different than a post corner, a sluggo, an out and up. You would sell it like any other double move, right? So you break to the post, and you see, again, the attention to detail that Ohio State wide receivers have is second to none. Maybe Alabama, right? I would say Alabama and Ohio State are right up there with how their receivers are. So when he breaks to the post, what are some things that sell a double move, right? You got to obviously snap your eyes to the quarterback. That's important. That's obviously a given. But we know a DB is not supposed to be looking at our eyes, right? He's supposed to be watching our body language. He's supposed to be watching my hips. So when you break to a post, you have to make sure that your hips and your shoulders also commit to the post as well as your eyes. The mistake a lot of wide receivers will make is their shoulder and their hip will already be drifting to the second cut. Their eyes will be looking, but their body never commits. You got to commit with your eyes. Now, especially if you have a DB who's off, they're taught not to crash on the first move if you start taking choppy strides. Because when you take choppy strides, they think you're preparing for a second break, which a lot of you do because you don't have confidence in the break. So when he breaks to this post, Njigba here, full stride, gaining ground, and he's able to put the brakes on a dime. So on a post out, we want to try to take 3 steps when we're breaking back to the out route. You see how he drops one? That's like the trigger step. That's the 3rd step of the post. That's supposed to get us low, bring my chin to my knee, and that's supposed to help us decelerate. Now, the second step, you snap on the 3rd step. The second step pivots. The 3rd step hooks. So you almost try to turn that second step at a 45-degree angle so your 3rd step can hook around and you can drive off of that 3rd step. Now, you see on Njigba when he does this, he kind of drifts a little bit, right? It's not the smoothest break. He snaps here. He pivots the second step. 3rd step goes here, and then that 4th step kind of drifts. It's almost like a negative step. He's not getting out of the break right away. Now, again, it's a very tough thing to do when you're 12, 15 yards downfield trying to make a break. But why does he do this? And he does this because his arms die. So this is something I want wide receivers to get out of the habit of. You see how when he drops, look at his hands. See how his hands go dead and they kind of flare out? That's going to make your feet go dead. When the hands go dead, the feet go dead. When your hands have a bunch of unnecessary movement, so do your feet. That's why I can't stand the beating the drum, quote unquote, that a lot of wide receiver coaches say. You want to keep your hands natural. You want to run in and you want to run out. So if you would have ran those hands in and ran those hands out instead of having them die, it would have been out a little bit smoother. But still, nonetheless, sold the post great, got in and out fine, dropped his hips on a dime. But those little extra steps, a more talented DB, I would say, would have some time to recover because we weren't out of that so smooth. So that's just one piece of advice for you guys. Anytime we're dropping my hips into a break, you don't want to have those hands go dead. You don't want to have those hands beat the drum. You want to just keep your hands natural, okay? So now, next route we're looking at here is from Marvin Harrison Jr. This is an in-game situation route, and I want to talk to you about using something called a hesitation skip. Now, this is a great example of a hesitation skip and how you guys can use this into a crossover move or a rocker step move, however you guys want to think of it. So a hesitation skip is what he does here with his left foot. So it's almost like a double hop. So why would a wide receiver do this? A lot of people scrutinize this like little skip move. They say, oh, DB's going to jam you. DB's going to get physical because you never want to hesitate like that. But again, all it does is throw off the DB's timing. Our goal, because like, let's say throughout the game, you're matched up against the same dude on the outside. He eventually is going to get your speed down. He's eventually going to get your timing down because anybody will if you're matched up against them for enough snaps. So when you throw a move like a hesitation skip in there, and again, Ohio State wide receivers' attention to detail, second to none. When you throw this little hesitation skip in there, when the situation calls for it, when maybe it's a longer developing read for the quarterback, maybe you're a backside route, maybe you're a 3rd read on the play and you don't want to get to the window too fast, but it changes up the DB's tempo. So essentially what it is like a double step. So you see how he goes here and he steps left again, he steps with the left foot 2 times in a row before the right foot comes down. Then he throws a cut to the outside. That's the definition of a hezi skip. It's like 2 steps on the same foot. So like you would go, like let's say you were doing it on like a 3-step slant, for example. So like let's say you're lined up here and you're taking a 3-step, quarterback's over here, your left foot's up and your right foot's back. You would step with your right foot, then you would step with the left, and hop on the left again, then cut off the right. So it would be right, left, right, instead of just right, left, right. So that's kind of what that hezi skip is. Does it have to be like on a slant, like on those specific steps? No. But that little skip is a way to change tempo and to adjust the timing of your route to the play. So that's all I wanted to discuss here. This is a great example of that and how you guys can use that to your advantage to throw off the DB's timing and then ultimately be able to create separation on that move. That's a great job there by Marvin Harrison Jr. Obviously, going to be probably the top wide receiver, maybe be the first pick overall next year. Very, very talented guy. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like an 8-week wide receiver on-field workout schedule, 200-plus wide receiver drills that you guys can do, all broken down, sets, reps, video examples of each one, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you on that. I'll see you guys next time.